Hello and welcome to Cheers to Fears, where we take horror films and turn them into drinking games. We're your two hosts. I'm Tucker.
And I'm Alex. Today we are going to be making a drinking game for 13 Ghosts, directed by Steve Beck, the same person that brought us Ghost Ship. The movie is written by 3 people, starting with Richard DeVidio, who was also a writer for The Call. The second writer is Neil Marshall Stevens, who also helped write some of the Puppet Master sequels and Hellraiser Deader. The third and final writer was Rob White, who also wrote the original 13 Ghosts screenplay and the original House on a Haunted Hill.
In 13 Ghosts, a family is going through financial struggles ever since the death of their mother Jean, who died in a fire. It seems as though Arthur's financial struggles are now over as his uncle Cyrus has passed away.
A key?
A key to what?
A key to your new house.
What?
As a result, they end up inheriting his mansion and riches as Arthur is the sole heir. When they move into the mansion made almost entirely out of glass, an ex-worker of Cyrus named Dennis warns them that the house is inhabited by ghosts, and many of them seek out to cause pain and suffering for those who are alive.
Since we will be talking of subjects such as how many deaths there were in the movie, there will be spoilers ahead from this point on. Therefore, if you have not yet watched 13 Ghosts, we recommend you pause the video now and come back once you are done. In saying that, you can use these drinking rules that are posted on screen. If you do not care about spoilers, or if you have already seen the movie, we invite you to stay tuned to take a closer look at the drinking rules.
So as always, we're starting it off with death, and this happens 10 times in the movie.
I would say one of the goriest ones are the lawyer who gets chopped in half by the house just rotating.
Yeah, the door slams down, cutting him in half.
Yeah.
That was definitely the coolest death in the movie.
Let's move on to the next rule, which is whenever somebody screams, cries, and yells, you take a sip. And that came to a total of 23. I would say this is about the average for the channel.
Pretty much, yeah. And there's not much else to say. It's pretty straightforward. Always pretty straightforward rule.
You don't have to scream, alright? Just chill.
So we'll just move on to rule number 3, which is whenever the ghost glasses are put on. This happens 9 times in this movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty stupid gimmick, but I like it.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a callback to the original 1960 movie where, you know, in the theater you had to put on the glasses to actually see the ghosts.
Yeah.
And that would have been pretty damn cool to experience.
Yeah,
honestly.
especially in the 1960s,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Moving on to the next rule. Rule number 4 is whenever money or financial struggles are brought up, and that came to a total of 7 sips.
Must be the lawyer. I forgot.
Lawyer? What lawyer? Thought our credit was all cleaned up.
No, I don't think it's about that.
Yeah, the main one is being Arthur. He's kind of the main, you know, he's the father of the family that is financially struggling, apparently. But it seems like every adult in this movie is kind of money hungry or greedy in some way. And so it was just a good rule to include because it was so, you know, in our faces. Yeah. So let's move on to rule number 5. It's whenever the spinning floor is shown. And this happens quite often, being 15 times.
So visually, a lot of things in this film look great, and I'd say the centerpiece is kind of that spinning room.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's kind of like the focal point of the house. The whole house, I think, looks pretty neat and visually appealing, like you say. But yeah, that's definitely the centerpiece, is that floor and the spinning gears in the middle of it that come up.
So let's move on to the next rule here, which is whenever Dennis has a vision or a quick flash, and this came to a total of 7 sips.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. He even foresees his own death. And he flips off a ghost that's supposed to be killing him in the near future.
Yeah.
It's like, you see that you're about to die, and you know these flashes have been accurate for you, or these visions that he sees, they've been accurate. So why are you flipping off and pissing off the guy that's supposed to kill you?
I mean, at the same time, he may not be able to control it.
True.
So,
True. So he's just like, might as well fucking flip this guy off to get some sort of revenge, I'll call it.
Well, he can.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to rule number 7, it's whenever Arthur's dead wife is brought up or seen. And this happens 8 times in the film.
Your wife? You're your wife and kids?
Whoa, time out. I am not the missus here.
My wife, my wife is...
Our mom got burned to death on a fire.
Bobby.
Yeah, you'd expect it to happen a little bit more just because, well, she's in the movie technically. She's one of the ghosts. So yeah, you can kind of see her in the movie saying like, oh, go back upstairs, when some of the other ghosts are like, hey, come on down. He's
talking to her son.
Yeah, talking to her son.
Yeah, you can tell she's not a bad ghost. Like, she doesn't want to harm people. She's just kind of trapped there along with the other ghosts. But she's not vicious, especially because it's her own family that these other ghosts are kind of tormenting.
Yeah, and speaking of a lot of the other ghosts, their backstories aren't really violent. but they're violent in the movie. Like the prince, whatever you want to call him, the baseball person that died in a car crash. Yeah.
I think they just have a lot of resentment because they've been locked up, trapped in this house for so long, and they can't they can't be resting in peace. They're just trapped there in limbo, I'll say.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they're they have so much resentment for
that could be definitely one of the reasons. Let's move on to the next rule here, which is whenever any house gears are seen moving, which comes to a total of 18 sips. The house is shifting around quite a bit, and there's lots of gears.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, don't drink for every gear that you see, or like even if they're just stationary, not moving, because that'll be so many more. Only drink when they're actually spinning or moving, because it's already a lot with 18.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next rule, which kind of works hand in hand with the previous rule. It's whenever you see a white lever with a symbol on it. And this happens 9 times in the movie.
Yeah. And from my understanding, this is the lever that releases the ghosts to...
so they're not captive anymore.
So they're not captive anymore, so they can just wreak havoc on the house.
Yeah, and it generally happens while the house is shifting. That's kind of why the house is shifting, so it can, free them. Because every time it shifts, it opens up one of their cells or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, every time you see these levers pop up and there's the symbol of the ghost on it, and that's the ghost that's being released.
Now let's move on to the final rule. The final rule is whenever you hear the voice of the ghost, you take a sip, and that comes to a total of 10.
Down here. Maggie? Come on down and play.
Yeah, sometimes it's the mother trying to tell her son to stay upstairs. Sometimes it's just the ghosts trying to lure them downstairs.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a bunch of ghosts wailing in the background. It happens in different ways, but it's pretty obvious when it happens.
Don't come down, Bobby. Stay upstairs.
Anyways, that wraps up this drinking game. The total number of sips that we had for this movie was 116, which is the equivalent of drinking about 4 12-ounce cans based off of our 30 sip per can scale.
So drinking to the movie, I'd say sometimes it was a lot in a row, sorry. Spinning floor, house gears, white lever kind of all happened at once.
Yeah, they're all kind of working together. It's almost like, it's because when the house is moving, obviously the gears are moving, and then like we mentioned when we were talking about the rules, the lever pops up as the house is shifting too, so yeah, it all kind of goes together. So there's some scenes where, there's multiple drinks going on, but in general, I'd say it's pretty steady drinking game. Not too hard, not too easy.
Yeah.
It's just kind of nice middle of the road drinking game, I'd say.
I'd say around 120 is probably that point. For the movie, though, I would say this could be my opinion, but if Matthew Lillard wasn't in the movie, it'd be a lot less engaging.
Oh yeah, for sure. He has some star power, I guess, behind him. Especially, he's in Scream, so we recognize him from that and many other movies, obviously. But yeah, I agree. If he wasn't in it, it'd be a lot less interesting, at least at first. Like, you wouldn't be pulled into the movie without him in there.
Yeah. I guess speaking of Matthew Lillard, who plays Dennis in the movie, in the original, I guess there was Dennis, Kalina, and Maggie were all just the same characters.
Yeah, okay.
So realistically, they didn't need 2 characters in the movie, and you can that's very visually seeable, since Kalina and Maggie were absolutely pointless to be in the movie.
Well, especially Maggie. She didn't need to be in the movie at all.
Yeah.
And first of all, she's supposedly the maid for Arthur's family. But if they're financially struggling, why do they have a housemaid in the first place?
Yeah.
Not even that, but a housemaid that can't do the chores that she's hired for, like cooking, cleaning, looking after the kids even. She can't do the basic things of the maid.
Yeah, so she's in the first scene in the movie where they see her, she's like, oh yeah, why doesn't Maggie just cook? And the younger daughter is basically like, remember last time Maggie tried to cook?
Why don't you let Maggie make the breakfast for lunch? Honey, that's why we hired her.
Dad, have you tasted Maggie's cooking?
Oh, yeah, just that one time.
Hey, I heard that.
And then I'm pretty sure there was some tomfoolery there, but Maggie basically called her a slut. That's what you're trying to do to somebody that's giving you money. Is call their daughter a slut. That'll work.
And the fact that she can't even keep the house clean is another point as to why they shouldn't even have her around. She's kind of just in the house living there. Like, Arthur trips over a scooter that's laying in the middle of the floor.
and he blames his son for it, not Maggie.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would blame my son too if he left his scooter on the floor. Especially if, well, I wouldn't have a maid either, but still, the point is she's just not keeping the house clean, like her job.
Yeah. So yeah, even when she gets into the new house, so Arthur's like, oh yeah, just make sure everybody like stays in the room, and all of a sudden they all just fuck off.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Maggie's job to take care of these kids, and they just all peace out, and she immediately loses them both.
Well, yeah.
Where is your brother?
He's with Maggie. I don't.
Was with Maggie.
So yeah, I'll move on from Maggie and move on to another character that I think I hated even more, but she was in less of the movie. But anyways, she pretty much just kind of, well, she was in the title sequence in the beginning, we saw her, and then she just randomly shows up again at near the end of the movie, and for whatever reason, she's just betraying humanity, and she just doing it for Cyrus, I guess. Like, I don't know, it was just weird.
Well, she was like an anti-ghost hunter or something like that, wanting them to be free, and then all of a sudden she betrays that moral just because she's horny? I don't know.
I don't know, like, it's just weird the way that whole scene or scenes at the end played out with her, because I don't know, like, I felt like she just showed up abruptly, and all of a sudden she was trying to save the ghosts, but then at the same time she's on Cyrus's side. Like, which one is it? She just flip-flops the entire time.
No, I'm pretty sure she was supposed to trick Arthur to sacrificing himself to be the 13th ghost, but I don't know, her whole character development was just stupid, I think.
Yeah, and I think that goes kind of along with the writing in general for this movie. It was pretty bad, I felt.
Oh yeah, it was
like
messy.
A lot of the characters, yeah, exactly. A lot of characters were messy. They kind of didn't have the greatest backstory, didn't know much about them. The most tolerable ones were Dennis by far. He was the only really likable character, I'd say. I personally didn't like Kalina, didn't like Maggie, Cyrus, whatever, he was there.
Yeah.
I didn't like Arthur.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I liked Cyrus a little bit just because he was like the typical like very, very true evil bad guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, you were not supposed to like the bad guys. Like, you had basically no sympathy for any character in this movie. You didn't give a shit if they died or not.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd say easily the strongest point in the movie is the ghosts. Just the whole backstory behind them. The designs were all very, very unique and cool. In saying that, I wish the movie focused a little bit more on the ghosts themselves as opposed to the family.
Yeah.
I wish it showed like a little bit more background or something like that.
Yeah, because like...
Or like they found out the ghosts and like they found like a storybook. It's like, oh, this guy, something.
Yeah, they told us the name of the ghosts basically. They didn't go into much detail about their backstory unless you have the DVD with bonus features or whatever, and then they go into depth on like each character and what their backstory is. And I wish they just included that stuff into the movie in some way, like not just the way they did it in the bonus features where they're, you know, it's like a biography of that person, short biography. They could have included it in some way that just fit nicely into the story as it was going, but yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that and they just did it as extra features.
Yeah.
Now that we got that all out of the way, however, what are your overall thoughts on the movie?
I think it's pretty clear for the most part. Overall, the film looked good. It looked very good visually. The whole house was very nice. It was interesting to see the set design with all the glass windows and how they had to like basically paint the spell runes on or whatever.
Yeah.
Just so the characters or like this the on-team production wouldn't like bump into just random walls.
Yeah.
But the overall story is a mess.
Yeah, it was a little sloppily written, and I think I agree. Like the main thing about this movie is its visual, like the cinematography or the production design, like you were saying. That is its strong point for sure. And I really did enjoy seeing the ghosts. We obviously said we wish we saw more of them or more backstory, but I did like seeing the different kinds of ghosts and like, you know, what they had to offer. But it was just ruined a lot by the characters that we didn't really like.
Definitely. Speaking of characters we don't like stupid characters that were written in the movie, which is why we made this awards ceremony known as the Darwin Awards. This award goes out to a character that made a stupid decision that resulted in them getting killed, somebody else getting killed, or simply resulting in something bad happening that could have been easily avoided. This award can also be given out to a character that is just plain dumb. Here are the nominees.
Today's first nominee is Kalina, who betrays her entire livelihood because she is in love with Cyrus, who repays the favor by killing her.
Next up is Maggie. She can't clean, cook, or keep Arthur's children safe, so Arthur is basically paying her for nothing.
Speaking of Arthur, he is the next nominee for jumping into the middle of the dangerous floor. Jumping through to the other side had nothing to do in terms of saving his children. so he just risked his life for no reason. This combined with paying Maggie for pretty much doing nothing despite having financial issues.
The final nominee today is Dennis, for deciding to go back into the house despite knowing the house would lock up with the ghost inside, leaving him as easy pickings for the ghost to attack him.
And the winner is Arthur, for pointlessly putting his life on the line and pretty much paying for a second daughter to live with the family despite being in financial debt.
And with all that being said, we hope you enjoyed our look into 13 Ghosts. If you end up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any other feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments below. Also let us know in the comments which ghost in the movie was your favorite.
Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss next week's episode where we are going to be making a drinking game for X. If you want to check out our most recent video, click on the box on the top right, or if you want to see a playlist of all the drinking games and movies we review, click on the box below it. Thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying, Cheers to Fears.